Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Raftelis' webinar series. My name is Samantha Villegas, and I will be your host today. I'm a senior consultant with Raftelis, and if you don't know us already, we are a professional service firm that provides financial, management, technology, and communication support to utilities in the public sector. With me on the line, which you won't hear from, are David George, our marketing director, as well as Samantha Brown, who's with our stormwater team, and they're just helping me in the background run the webinar. My role at Raftelis is to help utilities and public sector clients get the understanding and support they need for important projects like rate increases, capital investments, or policy changes, using smart strategic public outreach and communication. So today's webinar is very near and dear to my heart, and it's focused in this area. We're going to turn things over in a minute to two of our clients who have been very successfully connecting with their stakeholders, and they're going to share what they've been doing, plus provide a peek into their plans for communication post-COVID. Before we begin, I just want to quickly orient you all to the Zoom tool in case you've never used it before. On the screen, you'll see a toolbar at the bottom. At the very left is the mute button. We have actually put you all in listen only mode for the duration of the webinar. And what I invite you to do is use the chat box to ask questions. I will be manning the chat box as our speakers are talking. I'll be looking for questions and I will ask them on your behalf. And if you have any clarifying questions or questions at all, please type them in there. At the very end, I think what we'll do during the Q&A for anything that we haven't answered, we'll unmute the attendees and let you ask. Or perhaps just raise your hand in the Q&A, let us know that you've got a question and I'll call on you. So let's see, that takes care of that. And just to let you know, the webinar is going to be recorded and be sent, a link will be sent to all of the attendees on today, and then we'll also make it available at our website and you'll be able to share with others as you would like to. And I'm just checking the Q&A box here for a second. I'll have to look at that in a minute. And with that, if we can get to the next slide. Great. Okay, so as we said when we teased this webinar, it's a tough time all around, and our sector is certainly experiencing its fair share of challenges. With the uncertain future and in many cases declining revenue, it's hard to know what to say to customers at a time like this. So as I said, on this webinar, we have two really dynamic utility communicators. I'm happy to introduce Samantha Coppels of Daphne Utilities, who's located in Alabama, and Payne of Sweetwater Authority in California, both of whom will be sharing their storytelling experiences and strategies for connecting with customers. And we'll leave you with some concrete ideas that we hope you'll consider with your agency. Next slide. So first, some introductions. Payne is the Public Affairs Manager of Sweetwater Authority. She joined Sweetwater Authority in 2003 as a public affairs representative. Leslie's job responsibilities include managing the agency's internal and external communications, developing outreach materials, event planning, media relations, managing the agency's website, intranet, and social media. Leslie has a bachelor's degree from San Diego State University in communications with an emphasis in public relations and a master's degree in organizational leadership from Chapman University. Leslie and her team have won several awards for their communications efforts, including several CAPIO, California Public Information Officer, EPIC Awards, and the American Water Works Association's Public Communications Achievement Award in 2019 for their 2018 Securing Our Water Future public outreach campaign. Leslie will be sharing how Sweetwater connects with customers on rates and payments and what she's planning for the outreach on the other side of this pandemic. And also we have Samantha Coppels. She's the communications manager at Daphne Utilities, a position she has held for the past 6 years. In this role, she is responsible for all internal and external strategic communication and public affairs for Daphne Utilities. Samantha is a 2009 graduate from the University of South Alabama with a BS in Business Administration with a concentration in marketing. Sam is also a certified professional in the Society of Human Resources Management. Samantha is actively engaged in several civic and business organizations and serves on the boards of the Daphne Spanish Fort Kiwanis Club, the Spanish Fort Educational Enrichment Foundation, and the Eastern Shore Chamber of Commerce's Workforce Development Committee. In 2019, Samantha was named a Water and Wastes Digest Young Professional, and she was named a 2019 Leading Lady for Girl Scouts of Southern Alabama. Sam is going to share how Daphne has effectively connected with customers' hearts and minds through the use of beautiful imagery and video to build a sense of we within the community. So with that, we're going to start with Samantha Coppels. Let's begin. And Samantha, the mic is yours. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, hey y'all, excited to be here today. Sam Coppels, Communications Manager with Daphne Utilities, and we'll just jump right in and get started. So next slide, please. Okay, so a little bit about who we are. We're a small town right on the bay here in Daphne, Alabama. We serve water, wastewater, and natural gas to our local community. We serve about 22,000 accounts with water and sewer service and about 5,500 accounts with natural gas service and growing there. Next slide, please. And as you can see from the picture here, this is our wastewater treatment plant. We are very, very close to the bay. Daphne is a very small community and it sits right along that bay. About half of our population is between 18 and 65 years of age. 65 and over is about 14%. Under 18 is 24%, and our median income is $69,000. So we have young families. Our school district here is very good in our county, and we have a retiree community. And since we are right along the bay, they do care about the community, the quality of the bay. They like to kayak, sit on the beaches of our bay, and fishing is really big here as well. Most only show interest when we have a problem, of course, a water main break, SSO, etc. But over the past, I'd say like 3 to 4 years, there's been a transition where SSOs are really watched in our community since we are so close to the bay. Next. So what we want to say and how we want to show that, first we want to show who we are, our employees, as much as they care, the hard work that goes into the work that they do. What we do, really show what goes on behind operating a utility and the hard work that it takes for those day-to-day operations. We also want to show that we're a part of this community. A lot of us are raised here. We're raising young families here. We have friends here, distant relatives. We are a small community, so most likely anyone that works here, they have a relative that lives in Daphne as well. Another point that we wanted to show is our work is important. We are an essential service, and this now is more important than ever, and we want to make sure that we're getting that point across. Next. Okay, so the next step would be, how will we do this? The first thing we wanted to do was employee and facility pictures. Pictures are really everything when you're out, especially on social media and pushing certain content out. And we wanted to make sure that we showed our employees the real and raw side of that. So all the pictures in the presentation that you'll see today are our employees. The next would be our videos. We wanted to do a professional video and in-house videos just with our iPhone and things like that. And the next thing would be social media content. We wanted to change that up a little bit and show our employees and really show the work that goes into the day-to-day operation again. So next. Okay, so here's some of our pictures. I just love these pictures. We've done about 3 photo shoots with our employees, and they love them. They're like, oh, it's photo day. Let me make sure my hair looks good. You can look in the mirror. And the pictures have turned out great. I found a photographer in a local magazine that's right across the bay from us in Mobile, and I knew that he would represent what we were looking for and really who we are to our community. We didn't want just average pictures. We really wanted raw pictures with branded shirts and showing our equipment. and things like that. This has been such a great asset for our utility for social, website, brochures, and anything. We spend about $1,500 per shoot, but we get working shots, group pics, individual shots, and different things like that. And again, I use these pictures all the time for different things. So it's such a great benefit that we do this. And we do the pictures about every other year. We do a big photo shoot. So next. Okay, and facility shots. This, the shots that you see here that we did just a few months ago, we did some drone pictures and shots of like piping at different facilities and stuff like that. Again, this is great for our social, our website, and brochures. We also use this for our CCR this year. So it's actually great when you're putting brochures and CCRs and different things out, maybe for the chamber and stuff, that you already have these pictures that you could pull from, so you're not scrambling to find something. And again, I can't stress enough how big of an asset these pictures have been for me in our department. And next we'll go to our video in the making. So the first step was really creative thinking. And this was for our professional video that we knew we wanted. Myself and the general manager at the time, we had these great ideas. We just kind of got together and started to put them down on paper. We were very specific with some of the things that we wanted out of this video. We wanted it to really show a day in the life of the utility worker, like him waking up in the morning, heading off to work, showing his day out in the field. And then also on the other side of that, showing his family enjoying the benefits of his hard work, enjoying water, drinking water, playing with water, all the things like that. And we also wanted to show them coming back together to show him as a part of the community. So he's not just out working for other people in the community, he's working for his family as well to support that. So we set our budget, and our budget, we kind of knew we had an idea of how much it would cost to have this professionally done the way that we wanted. So it was about $16,000. Again, we had very certain descriptions and things like that of how we wanted it. So we brought in some help with a creative writer. She helped us put together the script and the shoot days, and we had a video producer. And then we moved on to the shoot days, which was really the fun part. We actually brought in some talent for this one. And the two little girls that you see in the video were some of our employees' daughters. So it's really fun to bring them in as well. And also our employees loved it. It was like they were working on a movie set. We had hair, makeup, we even had the fake sweat. So it really turned out great. I'm really excited of how it turned out too. So we're ready to show you that video now. Okay, and great. We just love how this project turned out. I'm so proud of it and so proud to be a part of that and really show we are working for what matters. And it's important to us, again, because we are a part of that community. And so we'll move on to here to the working shots. This has been really great for us. And now more than ever, it's important to connect with our customers, really showing what we're doing. I mentioned earlier that since we are so close to the bay, when we do have SSO, ourselves, or other surrounding utilities, it's watched. So we want to make sure that we're showing before things like that happen, how important it is and all the work that we're doing beforehand, the proactive work, that we're not just sitting back twiddling our thumbs, we're actually working, and they do a lot of hard work in the field to prepare things. So this working shots have been tremendous asset to our social media efforts. We definitely want to get out there and show that it's a dirty job, someone's got to do it. So we'd like to catch the guys when they're in full mud and dirt and get those pictures for sure. We knew we wanted to show the day-to-day operations of the utility. And again, showing that proactive work that we're doing. So when things go wrong, people do see that we're trying and we're putting in that effort and the time and money. And we also want to show that work doesn't stop. During storms, we're down here close to the water, of course, so we experience tropical storms and hurricanes. Our guys are usually out in the field as long as it's safe for them to do so, manning lift stations, you know, just checking our different lines and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that we're getting those pictures out as well, so the public can see, hey, they're out there working for us no matter what, storms, pandemics, anything like that. And one point I did want to make here, my advice on working shots is make those relationships with staff, share the importance of getting this information out to the public and how important their work is. I know I haven't always had the pictures just come flowing into my office, but I think now more than ever, they do see, and I've been speaking to them about it, how important it is for us to get those pictures out and stuff. Okay, and transitioning a little bit to communicating during COVID, really didn't really change much for us. Our plan was still the same, just tweaking that content a little bit. We knew we wanted to keep the information flowing, transparent, open, up to date. Things were changing like hourly the first few weeks that this came about. So we're gonna make sure that we're letting the public know our office is open, it's not open, how you can make your payments, different things like that, what we're doing to keep our employees safe and the public when we make those interactions with them as well. We really wanted to let our customers know we're still here for you and we're working for what matters. That the work doesn't stop, the operations hasn't stopped there. And this was also a great silver lining of this is highlighting our essential workers. I've seen it not just with our utility, but others that I watch on LinkedIn and social. It's been awesome to highlight our workers. They didn't get to work from home, most of them that work out in the field. And it was like nothing changed for them. They're out in the field doing day-to-day operations, laying lines, changing hydrants, all the different things. So we want to make sure that we were showing that. We also wanted to make sure that we were putting information out about our Lend a Hand program that supports our neighbors. So if someone wanted to round their utility bill to the nearest dollar, or if they actually were looking for support during this time, we wanted to push that information out as well. Here you can see the graphic that I have. These are, of course, our pictures, and there's a tool that I use. It's free. It's called Canva. This is great for small communication budgets for my department. It's just me, so I have to use what I can, and this has been great, especially during this time, for me to quickly put something together, especially about our office open, closures, different things like that. And they offer a lot of good tools and resources for COVID that are kind of already put together, and you're just adding your logo to it. So that's very helpful there. And the next. Okay, so what we've learned is our customers appreciate the proactive work and the pictures that we're putting out, like showing them what's going into it, how we're fixing problems that we've had in the past, and different things like that. Also, our organic reach for our social media goes up anytime we put employees. Again, we are in a small town, so usually it's their family that's sharing it, their brothers or cousins, friends, just anyone. And also just our average customer that may not know anyone that works here, they do show support and appreciation when we are putting these people out, especially during COVID when we were saying these are essential workers. We thank you for putting, yourselves out there. we got a lot of appreciation back from that, which was really nice. We also wanted to use this time to continue to learn and grow and evaluate our efforts. Things change so quickly now with COVID, even before COVID. And we're right now working with Raftelis on a strategic plan to make sure that we're following along those lines and evaluating it every year of where we are and how we can change things up and things like that. And at this point, that ends my presentation.
So Sam, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that. Before we transition over to Leslie, a couple of quick questions for you. First of all, I love your photos. You know, having worked at a utility myself for over 10 years, I remember that we never invested with a photographer, and it was always a scramble to get really good shots, faces head on, folks smiling, the really good critical shots of people doing the work. So I really appreciate that, and the composition of those images are amazing. And I never get tired of seeing that video. It's so great. One of the questions, yeah. One of the questions we were asked was, you know, how do you persuade your employees to participate, or do they need any persuasion for the photo and video shoots?
Well, some of them do. I mean, I think the first one that we did, I was kind of hounding them to make sure everyone showed up at time. Like, I have a specific time for them. So making a schedule for them and letting them know, I don't need you that long. Here's your time that you show up for your department, and then you're all done. And at first they were a little apprehensive, but there's a few that love it. And I call them my little divas because they have to make sure they're quite ready for it. Yeah. And I give them advance notice. But I think now they're used to it, and I think they like to see their faces when I put out brochures and, you know, certain mailers and stuff like that. We want to make sure that we're showing them and not just generic pictures.
Sure. And did you have to get waivers for the folks that participated and the children?
We did. We do that for our pictures for our employees and for anybody that participates in a video, to make sure that, you know, we have that in case we need it, if they were to leave, something like that.
And another question before we move on, someone was asking, are you currently rating customer satisfaction through a survey on some basis?
We actually just sent a survey out this week. So it's the first one that I've put out, and I'm really excited to get some feedback about that. We're going to put it out for 2 weeks. And we'll actually start doing that every 2 years now.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. I know I've got a couple more questions in the Q&A, but I'm going to go ahead and turn things over. Sam B, if you want to advance the slide, we're going to turn things over to Leslie. Take it away.
Hey, thanks everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are listening to the webinar today. I'm excited to be here to talk to you a little bit about the importance of outreach in selling a water rate increase, and kind of beyond that, and what we've done. Just a kind of brief snapshot of what we have done in the last few months since this pandemic hit. So we could go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. So Sweetwater Authority is a water agency in San Diego County. There's actually 24 water agencies in the county. So we serve a southern portion of the county, and that includes the cities of Chula Vista and National City, as well as Bonita, which is in the county of San Diego. We have about a 32 square mile service area. We have 190,000 customers, which equates to about 32,000 account holders. Being in Southern California, we are in a unique situation, and we're really grateful that we do have local sources. There are some agencies here that depend solely on imported water, but we do have a few dams and reservoirs and our own treatment facilities. So it's nice that we have an opportunity to use our own water, which can in turn help us have a diverse portfolio, which helps keep the costs lower for our customers. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the rate history of Sweetwater Authority. In 2015, we were directed by our governing board to do a rate study, and it wasn't effective at that point in time. And we didn't pass the rate study, so we had some implications that we had to contend with after that. So it wasn't recommended to go through with a study that was taken in 2015. And so we had to do some shifting. So we relied on our reserves. We deferred capital projects to balance revenues and expenses. Consequently, with the rates not being adopted, we only saw small cost adjustments through pass-throughs of wholesale water, which was only for fixed cost. The increased cost of wholesale water supply weren't recovered. We were lucky that in 2016 and 17, we had good rainfall that year, which provided abundant low-cost water sources. And we realized operational cost savings by deferring projects, and we also implemented a hiring freeze. But by the time 2018 rolled around, annual budgeting was now at a point where we were going to have to cut levels of service as a future strategy if revenues could not be stabilized through increasing rates. Some reductions in service levels had already been realized. For example, the authority meets and exceeds all water quality standards, but we had seen a decline in our water quality aesthetics and increase in customer complaints because of deferred maintenance. So one of the things that was different too for us as we rolled into this new study and process in 2018, we had a new general manager or a new management team. We had really never conducted extensive outreach for a rate campaign in the past. So this was a more robust effort for us that I'm going to talk about now in a little bit more detail. Next slide, please. So here's the team. Back in 2018, there were only 2 full-time employees, myself and one other at the authority. We were fortunate enough to be able to work with 2 consultants to help us through this process. We were able to work with Raftelis, who was already conducting our rate studies, and were able to add to the contract to bring them on to provide communications consulting services. Their work included assisting with developing a strategic communications plan for this campaign, messaging, and project guidance. A significant component of the identified outreach need was to ensure that our large Hispanic population served by the authority had the information needed about the rate study. For this, we brought on a local communications firm, SVPR Communications, to assist with this community outreach. This included media relations to our Hispanic and Filipino communities, story angle development, messaging, community outreach to engage the public. SVPR Communications communicated effectively with local stakeholders to help foster understanding and mitigate concerns, and to make sure we were creating a transparent dialogue with our customers and stakeholders. Next slide. So we're really fortunate, as mentioned earlier, this campaign was something that we've never done before, something this robust for outreach for a rate increase. And we were the fortunate recipients of a couple of rewards, which were mentioned earlier. So we're really proud of those. So let me go to the next slide and talk a little bit more in detail about what we did for our plan. To begin the process, we met for a full-day workshop. This workshop included different groups, including staff, board members, and consultants to all be a part of this process. The information that we gathered was used to develop a communications plan. The plan components included a situational analysis, stakeholder identification, mapping, message platforms, communication channels, content development, materials, media relations, internal communications, and community outreach. One creative component of this campaign for us was something that we hadn't done before, was to host 2 community open house events. The first event was held during the rate study, and the second open house was held after the budget was approved and the rate study was completed, in advance of our Prop 218 hearing. The objective was not to offer an opportunity to have customers learn more about the water system and not just focus on discussing rates. Rates are necessary to generate revenue, and they're part of the water system, but it was important to provide a context for what these potential rate changes could bring for our customers. In addition to hosting open houses, we really wanted to engage with local community organizations and make presentations on the process. We worked with our stakeholders to develop a list. We ended up with about 34 community organizations. And over the course of April to August of that year in 2018, 20 of them wanted us to come out and speak. And we were out in about 20 different community groups making presentations, which was really effective. It was a lot of staff time to be involved in those presentations, but we've really developed good relationships, and since then have gone back out to many of those groups to provide updates. In addition, we used a variety of communication methods in both English and Spanish to reach out to our customers. We used direct mail, social media, website, ads on print and social, PSA, press releases, and we also spent some time designing a more attractive Prop 218 notice, which was also really helpful in us getting the word out to our customers. Next slide. So as we go into the results of the campaign, we were really excited, and this really exceeded all of our goals that we'd set forth prior to starting this. As I mentioned earlier, we have about 190,000 residents living in our service area. The total reach for our campaign, when you totaled up all the different methods, was over 348,000. The other thing that we're really proud of is that through the Prop 218 process, customers can write in a protest letter. With more than 32,000 parcels in our service area, we only received 85 protest letters, and we didn't have a large attendance of people in it, physically at the Prop 218 hearing. Even our local Chula Vista Chamber of Commerce formally endorsed the rate proposal and the process that we used to ensure customers had information and an opportunity to be consulted before the board made its decision. And on August 20th, 2018, our board voted in favor of the proposed rate increase. And let me go to the next slide and talk a little bit about some of those long-term benefits that we've felt since the completion of this campaign. So we're obviously happy with the numbers that I just shared with you and the successful rate change adopted by the board. And those are both measurable quantitative results. But I think the thing that I'm most proud of for our team and that we've gained the most positive feedback on is really the qualitative benefits from this campaign. We were really able to strengthen our relationships with the community as well as customers and even our own internal staff. In addition to the rate study, we really did a better job, and since this have really continued the messaging about communicating with customers about the water system as a whole and really sharing that pride in our system. This really helped frame rates as part of the water system, but the rates aren't a singular issue, and this context for the rate change helped us with customers and community members to give a better understanding of why it's so important to invest in a water system in the long term. Customers received numerous touch points throughout the rate study to engage and inform them, and we've done a good job of keeping this same momentum in any other campaign that we've put in place since 2018. This made communicating about the rate changes a lot easier. Part of our proactive outreach involved making significant effort to communicate with populations whose English is not necessarily their first language. The attendance at our open house included a lot of people from these groups. These populations can be challenging for us to reach. Their attendance was an indicator for us that our communication efforts were successful. And I'm really proud too of the work that we were able to do with our employees. We spent a lot of time going out to employees, not just the customer service staff who are taking phone calls, but even to our employees in the field. I'm sure many of you have employees in the field who customers come up and ask them what they're working on and chat with them all the time. So we really took this opportunity to work with those employees and to make sure that our employees were being ambassadors for why we needed this rate increase. We had materials, very high traffic lobby. We see 4,000 customers a month coming through and paying in person. So we made sure that that staff was trained and had handouts to talk about this with customers. This groundwork really helped us because we didn't get a lot of calls. We didn't see an increase in call volumes when the Prop 218 went out. So our campaign started in April. The Prop 218 notice went out in July, and we didn't see a real big uptick in calls because we've been doing so much work prior to that notice going out, and that was very helpful for us. Next slide, please. So let's fast forward to where we are now. Who would have thought that 2 years ago, when we were in the midst of this campaign, that we would be in a worldwide pandemic? I think that the skills that we learned during this campaign and the strategies that we put in place have really helped carry us over in the last 2 years, but especially during these last few months. We were fortunate that after this campaign was completed, that we were able to work with Raftelis again to help us develop a long-term 5-year strategic communications plan. We've never had anything that long-term in place before at the authority. I've been there since 2003, and this was really exciting that we were able to put something in place to be more strategic and long-term thinking. So it's really given my team and I a great framework to put things in place, and has been especially helpful during these last couple of months when we're in a crisis. The relationships that we built with the community have been really helpful too. We've been able to work with these groups, getting messages and information to them to share with their stakeholders. Not having those relationships would have been really hard because trying to form those relationships during a crisis isn't easy. So maintaining those relationships, staying in connection with those groups, going back to see them, presenting to them, providing them content has been really helpful for us over these last couple of months. Next slide, please. So I'm really proud. I have the best team at Sweetwater Authority that you could ever ask for to work with, and we've had a couple of great successes during this pandemic that I wanted to share with you. The first one was an employee photo contest. You know, we also have been working during this time. Some of us are working from home, but our employees who work in the field are still out every day. We're spread out over 3 locations normally, but obviously now we're all a little bit more spread out since we have staggered shifts and people working from home. So what we did was put together a fun photo contest to show us a picture of maybe what your new desk space looked like, or show us what it looks like to be out working in the streets when there aren't a lot of cars around. And we were able to throw together a pizza contest and delivered pizza to that person's home, put together a fun slideshow to show everyone the pictures. And we had great feedback from the employees. We're a tight-knit organization. Everybody's missing seeing each other every day. And it was just a nice way to stay connected. And we had great feedback from that. So we're planning to do another contest probably later this month, just to kind of keep that morale and that camaraderie up amongst our team. The other thing that I'm really proud of is a quick video that we're going to show you, another partnership with a local group called Community Through Hope, who's been providing food to our service area. Our service area has been particularly hit through the hard economic times. Portions of our service area are facing up to 30% unemployment. People are struggling to put food on their tables. So we put together a drive from our employees, and we were able to raise over $3,000 just from our employees, which we're very proud of, and that was enough to provide food to 50 families in our service area. And we're working with Community Through Hope now to work on a more long-term solution to providing assistance to people in our service area who are struggling to pay their water bills. So we're going to switch to a quick video just so you can see a little bit about the campaign. I will warn you that when we watched it this morning, there's a little bit of a difference with the sound and the mouth moving at a different time. So it's probably an internet issue for everyone. So please enjoy this video. Thanks.
At Sweetwater Authority, we launched an employee giving program in support of Community Through Hope, a nonprofit providing nutritional services to our residents here in South Bay. In just a few days, they raised over $2,000 to help feed families in need of nutritional assistance during this difficult time.
Good morning, everyone. This is Rosie Vasquez, Executive Director of Community Through Hope. I just wanted to share our exciting collaboration with the Sweetwater Authority here in Chula Vista. I also wanted to give great thanks to the employees of Sweetwater Authority for using their campaign, which is voluntary, to donate to Community Through Hope. We're very grateful, and we look forward to this continued partnership.
So we did raise a little bit more money after that video came out, which was very exciting. Something else that she was holding in her hand that we're really proud of is we saw a real uptick here. I'm sure everyone else did, with bottled water being scarce on the shelves, just like toilet paper. And we were getting some feedback and concern about the quality and the safety of drinking water. So the initial portion of this pandemic at the beginning, we even throughout, we've been really mindful of reminding people about the safety and the quality of their water, and that it's been safe to drink, especially in our area where there is economic challenges, and we don't want people spending money unnecessarily on bottled water when it's safe and more cost effective to drink from the tap. So we also created a flyer that Community Through Hope has been putting in all of the bags. It's in English and Spanish and contains information about the health and quality and safety of tap water. So again, just really proud of the organization and how we band together through this pandemic and the work that we've been able to do in the community, and just how well everyone's been taking care of each other during this time. So thank you. It was a pleasure to get to present to all of you this morning, and we'll look forward to your questions.
Thank you so much, Leslie. That was awesome. We do have a question for you. Thanks for a great presentation, and also a question about how significant were the rate adjustments that you all had to put forth?
The rates were only a couple of percentage points. It kind of depends on what tier you fell in. But the average increase for a customer bill, and we billed bi-monthly, was around, I believe, $5 or $6 bi-monthly for our customers. We are one of the lower rate, of the 24 agencies in the county, we kind of fall towards the bottom of that Our customers are very water savvy and they're great users. So we've been really fortunate that they're good about conserving and keeping their bills at a good place and just making sure that they're using water efficiently and wisely.
Very good. And also a question about your work with the food drive and the HOPE program. You know, sometimes utilities are a little skittish about kind of getting outside their lane to support it. There's so many benefits to that, but talk to us about whether or not you received any pushback from management on the idea, or any, you know, feedback from customers about kind of taking your eye off the water ball to do something outside? Was there any negativity to it, or was it all supportive and it was all, you know, good for you?
You know, it was very supported by our management team. Our agency for many years has always been involved in, you know, using our own money to do things like a toy drive around the holidays and different food drives for charities kind of in our service area. So we've always been very community and civic minded, which is one of the things I've always really cherished about working in the organization. There was a little bit of questioning from employees, you know, why did we pick that particular charity, and wanting to know certain information. So there were some questions to that effect, but overall people were really positive about the experience, and we really emphasized that it was voluntary. You know, we're all fortunate that we're still working, but we do have a lot of employees whose spouses were laid off and people facing their own economic uncertainty. So the big emphasis for us when getting this out to employees was that this was a completely voluntary measure, and we know that there are a lot of other organizations in need right now. So it was very minimal. Management team was very, very supportive of this, and we actually had some good local press coverage. Our general manager was on a local morning show, and even after that, some more employees donated after seeing her on the show. So I thought that was a really nice testament to employees still being excited about this, even several weeks after we had launched the campaign internally.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. And so thank you, that was great. And we've had some questions come in kind of for both of you. Want to go back to Sam Coppels, so just make sure, Sam, you take your mic off mute. It came through on the Q&A, and I want to make sure everyone saw it. The question was, and I answered it, but I want everybody to make sure they hear. They were wondering, are the photos that you shared in your presentation just from the photo shoot, and the ones that you use just from the photo shoot, or are they also taken by employees? And the answer is, I believe it's a mix, correct?
Yes, we have a mix. So we do the photo shoot pictures, but we also have employees send us pictures. So really more of like the day-to-day content I put out is really the pictures from employees in the field.
Yeah, and didn't you tell me that you have a safety supervisor who does quite a bit of that?
Yeah, and that's what I would kind of suggest, to think outside the box. There's someone probably out in the field that has to check jobs or is visiting certain projects. And that's how it kind of started for me. I was like, oh, you're going out, can you snap a few pictures? And he's been great about it. I think he just sent me 6 pictures as I've been on here. So have a lot of content to choose from right now.
And he's just using a regular smartphone, correct?
Yes.
Very good. And did you ever have to provide guidance on what makes a good photo, or he's just naturally good with composition and sending things into you?
You know, at first I didn't have to say anything, but once COVID hit, I kind of had to say, well, can you make sure they're separated when I'm posting these pictures out, that they're, you know, being safe and staying healthy. I had to keep that in mind for the pictures. But other than that, he's been really great. And he actually will send me a description of what they're doing, because I don't always know, like, hey, they're cleaning a lift station or adding a pump or something like that. So actually, the partnership there has been awesome for me, for sure.
Sure. And then starting with you, and then also I'll ask Leslie the same question. Are you on Instagram? Which social media platforms are you on, and can you tell us what they are, how to find you and follow you?
For us, Daphne Utilities, we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We have not gone to Instagram yet. We just didn't think that we had a need there, and we're really trying to make sure we hone in on the platforms that we're already using.
Mm-hmm. And Leslie, how about you all?
We're actually the exact same boat. We have not gone into Instagram yet, but we're hoping to be conducting a survey in the fall, a public opinion survey. And that's definitely one of the questions that we want to look into to make sure we're on the right platforms. We've also been utilizing Nextdoor. We typically use that for a lot of events and kind of more classes and things that we are putting together, but we have found that helpful, especially these last few months during the pandemic, to be posting information there, just because it tends to have a different audience. So that's been a successful thing for us to spend a little bit more time on these last couple months.
And Leslie, you mentioned it's just two of you with your consultants. Do you have, is somebody full-time dedicated to responding to social media, or how do you guys handle that if it's between the two of you or your consultants?
Well, we're fortunate that we were able to add another staff person last year, so it's now 3 of us full-time. And one of the employees on my team does do our social media. It's not a full-time portion of the job. She spends a lot of time on it and does an amazing job, but we would love to be able to allocate more resources and time to it, but we're pretty busy with the workload that we have internally. So for right now, it's part of her roles and duties, and we're all helping in some capacity, but it is maintained by one person.
Okay, so it's not full-time, it takes up quite a bit, and all of you collaborate on that.
Yes.
And Sam, I know it's just you at Daphne. About what percentage of your time would you say you spend on the social?
I've been spending a lot recently, I will say that, especially during COVID, just to make sure, you're putting good graphics out there, consistent information. So it's a pretty big part of my job, I would say, and it's pretty important. And it's just me. So usually I'm around at some point to be able to answer anything or put stuff out, but I do have a backup unless I'm on vacation. It can't be reached for any reason, but usually it's just me.
Very good. Another couple questions that came in for folks that want to stick around. We talked at the beginning, and one of the learning objectives we gave folks was this idea of building relationships with your community and your customers by really thinking like them. So Leslie, just starting with you, what's your process when you're putting together messaging? How do you get inside the heads of your customers to make sure what you're saying is really going to resonate with them and grab their attention?
I think one of the things that we've done a really good job with is working internally with our teams to make sure that we're hearing what's going on in other departments, particularly if we have calls at our water quality lab about questions or concerns about water, or from customer service. An example of something that comes up for us from time to time is water scams, people going around and trying to sell filtration systems to customers, and then there being a bit of fear about the water quality and the safety and things going on. So we really try to stay connected with the team internally, and they reach out to us. And at that point in time, we can kind of pivot the messaging to resonate with what the call volumes are matching. So really working closely with the employees who are on the front line and hearing those questions and that information has been really helpful for us, helping provide speaking points to those employees too, if they want us to assist with more background information. That's been a really great tool for us to pivot, especially if something is not something that you can be as strategic about, something that pops up in the news or with customers.
Sure. And Sam Coppels, knowing that you're as active as you are on social, I imagine that you pick up a lot of clues about what people are thinking from the social media.
Yes, I do. I actually watch our City of Daphne page a lot. Sometimes we get mixed up as a part of the city. So I kind of see what people are requesting from them there that would pertain to us. But also we have social groups here, like what's happening in Daphne, and people post a lot of stuff or questions, concerns, different things like that. But then on like the internal side, we have an operations meeting every Monday. So I listened as, what's been called out over the weekend, or any calls after hours, or big projects they're working on the week that we think people would want to know about. And a big push for us recently is updating the community on projects where we're out, if we're having to close a road or we're just out in a certain neighborhood, really pushing that information out to make them aware that, they're out there working in certain areas and things like that.
Mm-hmm. And then for both of you, and I'll go back to Leslie first on this one, in thinking about your approach in terms of the strategies that you're applying to reach folks, and knowing that, you know, a lot of folks are still kind of stuck at home based on, you know, their governor's orders, you know, how are you making any changes to your, the way you conduct outreach as a result of the pandemic, and how are you moving forward with, you know, planned outreach activities? How has that changed?
We were really fortunate to have the 5-year strategic communication plan completed last year. So the team and I sit down quarterly and go through a spreadsheet and kind of work through and make sure we're shifting and messaging appropriately. I mean, the plan is great and it's a roadmap, but we've definitely had to make some changes. Some of the things that we wanted to be able to do this next year, we're going to see a tighter budget just with the COVID response and people's inability to pay bills. So our budget's going to be a little leaner than we maybe hope for next year. So we're really having to shift and also just making sure that the message is appropriate and kind of listening to the tone of what's going on in our community. I mentioned earlier that we have high unemployment rates. And so we've really shifted our messaging these last few months to remind people to call us, to work with us. We want to work with them on their bills. We want to make sure that they're not falling behind on payments. And so the messaging the last few months has really shifted towards the flexibility of our payment plan options and working with customers. We did do a direct mail piece at the beginning, kind of talking about water quality. We've also closed our lobby, so we've really had to make sure messaging is out to make sure customers remember the alternative ways that they can pay until our lobby opens up again later this month. And we've been really fortunate that I think the messaging has been effective because we haven't had calls or complaints from customers about how they can pay their bills. People are really taking advantage of the alternative methods that we'd always had in place. So we've been really proud of that success with our customers, and that we had such good options in place for them even before the pandemic hit.
And one quick follow-up for you, Leslie, that came in. Did you say that you bill every other month? And if so, what's the advantage to that?
We bill bi-monthly. We've always billed bi-monthly. I don't know, I think customer service wise for our service area is very spread out, and reading the meters, we are not on AMI or AMR. So from a reading standpoint for us, it's more effective from staffing levels. Sometimes you hear from customers the concern or the expense because the bill is more expensive because they're paying it every couple of months. But from us, from a logistical staffing standpoint, it makes the most sense to bill bi-monthly. The challenge I feel as a communications person is when we do want to get pieces out to customers, it takes us 2 months to get things out. So when we're planning for content in our newsletters, we have to really watch the dates and make sure that we're getting things out in a timely and efficient manner. The advantage of billing monthly would be that you get things out faster. So that from a communication standpoint, that's the one thing that we just have to be really cautious of when we're planning our editorial calendars for the year.
Yeah, I remember that. When I worked for a utility that was quarterly, we always had to remember, we were planning like 5 months in advance, and you had to really think whether that last week your info was still going to be relevant to them. That's tough.
It is really tough, especially when it comes to like event dates and things along those lines. We have to have really long lead times, but working with partners that we do events with, they're really aware of that calendar now. So we do try to put things out as far as we can, but it's definitely a challenge.
And kicking back to Sam, does your utility absorb the credit card processing fee for payment, or are you currently passing that charge on to customers?
To my knowledge, we absorb that cost.
And Leslie, how about you all?
Yes, we absorb any of the costs associated with our payment options.
Has that always been the case, or is that new per COVID?
That's always been the case for our agency. I know that it's kind of a local decision. Other agencies in town do put those costs onto their customers, but that's something that our board has always been very conscientious and mindful of, is not putting those extra costs on our customers.
And Sam, getting back to that other question about, are you making any changes to the way you approach your outreach with this new situation where, you know, we're really relying more on that digital side of things? Have you guys made changes? Do you have changes in place for the way you approach outreach, given there's such a limit on the face-to-face?
A little. We've just made sure to be more consistent with the information that we're putting out about the office open, closing, the different options for them to pay or handle their utility needs. But really, it kind of went in line. Before COVID, we made sure we wanted to get out to humanize, our employees and what we do. And this kind of really helped, really highlight our essential workers, and just kind of moving forward with that same content has been, our plan for right now.
And then the other question I think that came up that folks were curious about was this idea of, following up on this notion that we can't be out in the community as much face-to-face, and there's been some limits on, gatherings and the way that we normally interact with folks in the community. Are you, and just Sam continue, and then I'll go back to Leslie, are you making use of strategic partnerships within the community that you have to kind of really still connect with folks, and who have you connected with on that front?
Yes, we made sure to continue some of the same partnerships that we've had. We have a Utilities United program, which is about 14 utilities, and we email back and forth on what our offices are doing and different things like that for operations. But also other utility peers and our police station. Just last night, the social media person there and myself were talking about us closing a road. So she's putting out the same information. So it's making sure we're reaching those people that may not follow us, but follow the police page as well. And some different things that I have tried too, like to make sure I'm reaching as many people as possible digital, is we've been putting out a constant contact. So when I found out we're closing the office and different things we were doing for COVID, I sent one out. Then I sent an update out to let customers know and trying to keep them updated of what was happening.
Very good. And Leslie, for you, how about your partnerships with other, organizations in the community?
Yeah, we've definitely, we have a couple of groups that we meet with. We do meet with monthly with other people in the South County. We've been sharing content for one another on social media. The water agencies too, the San Diego County Water Authority, who is our wholesaler, we were having monthly meetings in person. And then when the crisis started, we started a weekly phone call, which has been very, very helpful for us to stay connected, just for us to work with the other water agencies so that we're all putting out similar messaging and staying on the same page. So we've been really fortunate to work with partnerships that we already had in place, which, kind of again goes back to that relationship building and how important those were for us to put together prior to an emergency, because now that we're in that situation, we have such great communication channels and partners that we can connect with readily.
And so, very good last question that came in. This will be the last one we have time for. When you think about customers in your community that may not be as good at using technology, may not have opportunities to, access, your information digitally, how are you handling that? Starting with Leslie, and then I'll go back to Sam.
I think this is something that we've done a good job with at our agency, because we have such a, we have a lot of older customers, a lot of seniors in our service area. So we've always kind of had a multifaceted approach. We've always still done a newsletter. We've done billing messages. We put artwork and graphics on the envelopes. So we've always had the thought process and the means to use every channel available to us to get the information out. Our last public opinion survey still indicated that direct mail was the best outreach tool with our customers. So we've always made sure to keep money in our budget for newsletters and inserts to go with our bills, because at the time of our last survey, that was still the most effective messaging. I'm very curious to see 4 years later, if we're able to conduct a survey again in the fall, if that's still the same case. But that has worked best for us in the past.
Very good. And Sam, how about you all?
The same as Leslie, we still do mailers for certain things, but we also run in local papers. We have 2 small local papers here that we run ads for certain information for hydrant flushing and different things like that. And we also communicate, I guess, with our main office for the administration, customer service, to let them know what they're doing in the field. So if they do get calls, I'm like, hey, what are they doing out there? They're already aware of what's happening.
Well, I want to thank both of you for your time today and for sharing your strategies, your communications efforts with our attendees today. On behalf of Raftelis and everyone, thank you so much to Samantha Coppels and Leslie Payne for sharing your insights. And you see it up on the slide. Let's keep the conversation going. I'm a real big proponent of us collaborating and sharing information. That's how we all get better. So I've put Leslie and Sam and my own contact information up there. I think we're all on LinkedIn as well, so we can connect there. And as a follow-up, when we send you the link to the presentation, we'll be sure to send you links to the videos as well as the social handles for both, so y'all can be following them. And with that, I will bid you an excellent afternoon and thank you all so much. Take care.